June 18th, 2021. That is the day of the greatest travesty in the history of our sport, in combat sports, in the Colton State Athletic Commission's history, and in Colton's Garage history. June 18th, 2021 was obviously Wet Floorgate, the incident that swept the Colton's Garage nation. I'm recording this video on December 16th, 2022. Now, you wonder why it took me so long to get this out. Well, substantial evidence has come out since then. A lot of talk has been going on, different things like that. And it's gotten to that point where I think it's finally time to clear my name and clear the air about what actually happened. Me and Joel obviously competed on that night. It was June 18th, 2021. Like I said, it was the main event of Colton's Garage. That event, I believe, was the third Colton's Garage event. And truthfully, it was a massive success for Colton's Garage. It was a big deal for the Colton State Athletic Commission and for really just the whole sport of boxing, as we did compete in boxing on that night. I think for the general fan base that just loves the sport, you take the event and you treat it as a big deal. You treated it as massive. You came out, showed up for the crowd. It was a good crowd. The YouTube viewership was fantastic, and I thank you for that. But obviously, for those that have seen the fight and for those that know about the fight, you know that it ends in a very controversial fashion, and I'm here to finally clear the air about what that really was. I still think people have grossly underestimated the weight of what this really could mean. And obviously, no one's really known that I've had this planned. Only a couple people in my camp have kind of known about this. I've actually had some help with this video today. But this is basically going to be Wet Floorgate explained. I'm going to break down every piece of why it is A, a fluke, B, a complete bastardization of what the rule set of any martial art should be, and C, why Wet Floorgate is truthfully a national tragedy. In the process of this video, breaking this down, I will be giving examples, images, different things like that to explain what happened and why why there's substantial evidence that prove that there's two things here. There's two objectives to it, and these videos and these pictures are going to prove that. The first objective is that I do believe I deserve a rematch with Joel Youngblood Stevens, and I believe also, as you'll see in one of the slides, that I deserve a match with Will. I believe he went by 3-Pete, Will Reinhardt in this video. You'll see that why I think I deserve the fights of both of them. You'll also see why I do believe that this Wet Floorgate matchup, I know that it has been about a year and a half now, should and will get overturned by the Colton State Athletic Commission, because I do not think there is any way that a fight that went the way that it did should be allowed to be counted in the record books as an official fight. Now, here's how we're going to start this off. And obviously, we'll get this first image pulled up here for you. Let me get this zoomed in a little bit for you. And this is going to be a very raw, that's way too zoomed in. This is going to be a little bit of a raw video here for you guys. Nothing too in-depth, to be truthful. Or not in-depth, that's not the word that I meant. Nothing too edited or scripted or anything like that. Because I wanted this to be my raw emotion and really just explain to you guys what I really mean. I didn't want it to feel like a corporate thrown out there sham of a video, like, oh, somebody wrote this for him, somebody made this for him. No, this is coming straight from the heart, straight from the will. And I'm going to obviously have my water at my side in case I talk for a long time, in case I ramble for a long time. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you probably already are on my side and you don't really need more proof. But for the people that do, I won't try to take up too much of your time. I'm just going to try to give you guys what I believe happened. Get our first drink here, but obviously, I wanted to start this off with a bit of a breakdown of the events leading up to it, for those that didn't know or for those that might have been unfamiliar. Leading up to that fight, we had done a couple Colton's Garage events already, and I was looking to get into the cage for my first ever boxing match. I'd been kind of thinking about it, kind of contemplating it, and one day, just minding my business at work, enjoying myself, Joel Youngblood comes into my place of work and completely disturbs the peace, starts talking smack, calling me out, clearly egging me on for a fight, right? Clearly starting a beef. Well, when I responded to that, and I basically said, hey, I'm down, let's fight, he cowered in fear, and he clearly did not want the fight, And you could see that, it kind of shook him a little bit that I was so confident, that I was so willing to fight him. He had tried to fight other people for that fight night. He had tried to avoid me essentially, and try to get easier opponents. That didn't go well for him, and we ended up, going through our Snapchat beef back and forth. We, brought it to social media. It led to a press conference where I got probably a 10-8 round in the press conference, if that counted. Absolutely schooled him. It was like Chael Sonnen versus, Vanderlei or like Anderson Silva. Just, you could tell that one fighter was on another plane of existence whenever it came to the talking. Then, obviously, we had a couple stare downs, things like that, and then it gets to fight night, right? And fight night was, obviously, the nervousness was there for me. I'll be completely transparent about that. It was nerve-wracking being in the main event. Obviously, I expected to be a main event fighter. I expected to be a big-name fighter, but it was my first time fighting. And, you could see the nerves at times, but I still felt like I could beat Joel, and I still felt that my superior size and athleticism, obviously my background as the first and only black belt in the mixed martial art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, was going to carry me through that fight and get me to a win one way or another, whether it was knockout, whether it was a decision. I really didn't care. I just wanted a W. That's what we're about here. We're about eating W's. So I felt the need, to take a breather on fight night, go sit inside, take a deep breath, get ready for the fight, and prepare myself. While I was doing that, obviously I was putting on my outfit, putting on my attire. I obviously wanted to look nice for the event. You always got to come correct. And I had worn a pair of boxing shoes, boxing, boots, and I, got them laced up and everything like that. Got a lot of help from my corner and everything like that, to make sure that my appearance was perfect. And then the unimaginable happened. The boxing shoes had zero grip on the bottom of them, no traction, nothing like that, nothing to help you grip. And they were the complete wrong choice of shoe or footwear for a wet floor. On the night of the event, the referee in the contest, Mr. Earl Hensley, obviously, significant part of Colton's Garage. He's been at every event. This was his first and only time refereeing, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that reason. But he had cleaned the cage on that night. He had done a deep clean, taken, I believe, maybe a Swiffer wet jet, something like that, maybe a mop, probably some sort of Fugaze mop with like a broken mop handle and a bunch of tape on it, something like that. God knows. And never took a towel to it, never took a rag to it, never even did like a blow dryer, nothing. Did not dry the floor off at all. It was a rainy, it was a summer night, but it was a rainy night. It wasn't necessarily a hot night, and it was indoors, in a garage, obviously Colton's garage. It's not called, Colton's backyard or something like that. So it was obviously indoors. And because of this, there was no, air drying of any sort from the outer, from just the general oxygen coming through from the air from the outdoors. So the floor was completely wet. And as we go through this, we'll start off the video most likely with some clips of different fights on the card where you could see fighters acknowledging the slipping. You'll also see one point where my feet completely go out from under me. And that's going to be sort of the first point to make of this whole thing, is obviously we do call it wet floor gate because my whole argument is that Joel never really did anything to beat me. I got beat by a wet floor, and I got beat by shoes that had no grip to them to help me with the floor. And, as embarrassing as that may sound, I have already, reached out, and I've already regrouped as a person. I've already kind of recovered from this. So this video is really not me kind of whining or moaning or just being sad about it. It's really just me coming forward with what I believe to be the truth. But I've also already reached out to the Colton State Athletic Commission, and we have added to the rule set. If you watched Colton's Garage 6, Homecoming, you'll watch that card. The floor was very dry. Almost said the drawer was fly. The floor was very dry, and part of that is because the Colton State Athletic Commission has an official ruling now where if the floor is not dry, the event has to be postponed until it does get dried. I did an official check. I did every sort of possible test you can do on it before the event to make sure. And I also checked with Mr. Earl. Thank you so much for that. He assured me that it would be dry, and he did a good job. So let's just go ahead and get to the actual evidence, though. Now that you have a little bit of the backstory of what really caused wet floor gate, like I said, it was just an oversight by the athletic commission. It was an oversight by the actual man himself, Earl, who was supposedly had cleaned the floor, had never dried the floor after the fact. He pretty much skipped that whole step. Not sure how that happens, especially in the big money business that I do, how someone could be so stupid. But, I digress. We move on. Like I said, he did do a good job at the most recent event. We just, had to make corrections. So let's get through. So the first thing that I want to point out, we'll go to these two videos first. These are both, this is going to be a fight here between Shady and Wolverine that happened. And if we can use this video as an example first. You can see Colton right there as the referee sliding. You can see Wolverine also sliding with him. And I want to just give a quick shout out to Colton real quick, because some of these clips he did provide for me as extra evidence. Obviously, he had gone and done some investigations, because I had called for an investigation on this. And like I said, as you can see, watch Colton's feet right here. He just straight up slides like he's on a surfboard. As Beyonce said, grinding on that wood, grinding on that wood, surfboard. This is in the middle of their fight when they're actually competing. You can see combinations from Wolverine, good combinations there, some, body work here and there, and you can see his feet just completely slide out right there. Then Shady slips, then he slips again. They're slipping and sliding every day, every way. And the worst part of this is really just right here. Look at this. You can see the man is, he's quite clearly not standing fully upright. His feet have completely gone, and with nothing to cause that besides a wet floor. So obviously it's not like I'm the one that created this issue. You can tell that other fighters on the event recognize that was a real issue. Let's go ahead and go to another good example of a picture here here's Evan. At the time, at one point in time, his nickname was El Guapo. He's now Fallen Angel. Shout out to Evan. He did step in there with Johnny the Drop Isaacs in the most recent event, put on a good performance. This was his first fight with Colton, and on this same event, you can see right here, he does wipe his hand on the mat to kind of display that, he recognizes that it's pretty moist. He recognizes that even in bare feet, with bare feet, he's going to have a difficult time holding his grip and, staying, without sliding on the floor. So let's go back to the videos here. Like I said, I don't want to take too much of your guys' time here, but this is basically the initial clip of where you can see where my feet are gone, right? So watch my feet here in slow motion. There is no stepping there. That is all sliding. That resembles less of a fight and more of a cha-cha slide, if you will. And I prefer the Cupid Shuffle for, first off, but second off, I just don't see how you can look at that and not see insurmountable evidence already that my feet were not under me and that the floor was completely wet. Also, obviously, look at Joel's feet in this clip on this next watch. He has socks on. His feet, he's able to turn his foot, put a little bit of power into his stuff. I did not have that same luxury that he had on this night. So let's get to some of the images. So this is kind of the start of it, right? So this is my entrance, and as you can see here, Earl, the referee, big fan of me, always has been, always will be, as he should. How could you not be? Taking a video of my entrance. He wasn't trying to dry the floor at all. He wasn't acknowledging it, even though this was the main event of the night after we'd already had, I believe, 4 fights on the night before that. No care in the world about what was going to happen with the wet floor, knowing that it's there, being in the cage the whole night to experience that it was there, could care less and would rather take a video of me. And I get this. He did have front row seats to it. He got to be right there at the cage door whenever I walked in. That is a luxury. That is something that no one really gets to experience unless you are an official licensed referee. So, it definitely was a big moment for him, and I definitely understand that part of it. And I can kind of respect that about it. But I just don't understand, it's the neglect towards the actual sport. Next we're going to go to Joel's entrance, and this one has a lot to unpack, quite a lot to unpack. First off, Joel did not put his gloves on until he got into the cage, which, as you can see here, as the as my team, as they put this together, they did put some captions and things like that on this to kind of help explain it. It's a visual, it's visual and audio here. So I mean, obviously use your eyes and your ears if you can. He was putting his gloves on in the cage after his entrance. Johnny obviously there already making announcements. I was already clearly ready for the fight. My shirt was off, my mouthpiece was in, and here I am waiting for him to put his gloves in. And as you can see, they had it in a case, a carrying case. No one checked these gloves. No one even got near these gloves besides these two. And like I said, they had it in a briefcase. As you can see there, they're unpacking it. If you zoom in a little bit on that, let's bring that up here if we can. Don't grab the text, let's grab this. So you can see the briefcase that they were using, very clearly some shady stuff. And then this was the part that we pointed out, obviously Earl not checking the gloves in the process of this, kind of just letting them do that. Now, his corner man, Will, I also have, sort of put the offer out there to him, hey, we should fight as well, because I've always kind of wanted to fight Will, and that's always been talked about. But also, some shady stuff at him as the corner man. He's known to be a little bit shady. Definitely, he's not shady. The fighter shady, the coach shady. He's not shady. He is just an iffy type of person. Definitely has something sketchy about him. And this right here, I mean, it just kind of looks like he's making sure that whatever they did to load the gloves, or if he is loading the gloves there, maybe he's putting rocks, some sort of weight. We've got weights in gloves, ladies and gentlemen. That's at least what I believe. This is going to be let's try to put this fight kind of more, let's just go here. We'll go in the order that it was that it was sent to me, essentially. So here is where you can see that Joel's punch completely misses my head. And this is the key moment of the fight, right? The stumble. And you'll see it listed on there. Stumble, slip, fall, busting my ass. Whatever you want to call it, this is pretty much the moment of the fight that leads to the stoppage and leads to it being over. You can see Joel clearly doesn't hit me at all, clearly whiffs, and then you can see my feet go out from under me. Joel did not hit me. Joel did not knock me out. Joel did not knock me down. Clearly nothing Joel did caused what this fall was. And if you look at this clip right here, this is where things get a little bit complicated. So the referee comes in, doesn't even start a count. I've been the referee for a lot of these events. Obviously, in these fights, I was Smitty the King. Usually, I'm Smitty the ref. Whenever I see a fighter fall down in a boxing match, I immediately begin my count. Either it's starting at 1, or if they've been down for a second, I had to separate the fighter. You do the classic. What they do in the rule set is you start it at mentally where you think it should start, 3, 4, wherever it should be. He did not start a count. Instead, he was, seemingly, I was kind of dazed. I didn't know where it was. He was seemingly asking for maybe a autograph of some sort. Maybe he wanted one of my boots. I don't know. And I was just trying to ask my corner man, hey, can you help this guy out real quick? He clearly needs something from me. I'm trying to get up to finish this fight. Maybe I can sign this real quick and then we can keep going. But in the confusion of that, my corner man somehow got it misconstrued and decided that he wanted to throw in the towel, or that I wanted him to throw in the towel. As a warrior, as a fighter, and as someone that is a practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, obviously throwing in the towel is never an option, because giving up is never an option. So I don't know where that came from. I am a little bit still kind of confused about that. And like I said, I mean, it seemed like the referee, I mean, you can see the way that he's kind of holding his shirt down at me. It seems like maybe he's just asking for maybe I need to wipe something off on his shirt. I don't know, but my team has said that they believe he was asking for an autograph, and they believe that, it makes the most sense that maybe I was just looking out for, okay, maybe they just want me to sign this during this fight. Here is sort of the example of what we were talking about, though, with the feet. We'll go ahead and point this out now. Is that I tried to throw a right hand right here, and obviously my foot, I tried to plant it and turn off of it. Planting and turning off of it was not an option. It just completely moved. It did not grip the floor at all, so my punch was just completely lost before it even got thrown. And we'll go to this one picture here. This is the example of basically I throw that punch, Joel ducks it kind of like, it looks like he's playing like Just Dance or something, maybe on the Wii. Maybe he's playing like Nintendo Switch Sports. I'm not sure what he's doing, but whatever he's doing there, it's definitely not a fighting maneuver. It looks more like a dancing maneuver of some sort, or potentially a seizure. But this is me throwing that right hand. Clearly my foot had to come up off the mat because I couldn't plant it like I wanted to, and he obviously ducked very poorly and then whiffs a punch over my shoulder, which, you know, is just another example of his inexperience. And I'll show the one picture as well. There was one image of this, I believe somewhere in here, of that punch. Where is it at here? I have to go back and find it. Actually, we'll see if we can. We'll go ahead and get through the rest of these, and then we'll go back and see if we can find it, because I believe I might have actually messed up and left one out. But we have, this is also one part here. You know, you can see the referee. This is in the middle of the fight. We're focusing on the middle of the fight right now. Is going to be that, you know, the referee, too busy trying to impress me with some of his knowledge. He's trying to give examples of hooks and things like that, which is obviously a sign of a biased ref as well, which obviously I didn't want that. Joel, feet are completely flat, hands are down, heavy breathing, doesn't really know where, you know, what to make of the fight at this point. Like, you can tell that he's definitely flustered. Me, in my stance, have my guard up, ready to throw down. My eyes are locked, my eyes are peeled. This is going to be another example of, obviously, we just see the referee here, you know, trying to throw punches to kind of give examples to us of how to fight whenever we're trying to just fight each other. This is him right here, obviously. Look at him straight focus on my back, maybe even my ass a little bit. Might have been a little bit uncomfortable for me. Obviously, I haven't really took that up with the commission just yet. And my back is pretty crazy. I'm not going to show you right now, but, you know, if I get a good pump in, my back, it does look pretty nuts and pretty gnarly, and I'd got a good pump in, a little bit of adrenaline before this fight. My back definitely looked great. But this is going to be, you know, another example of really just and we're just going to focus on this right now since we're here. So obviously, referee negligence, slipped on the wet floor, no count was called. And this is just proof of the wet floor, because I clearly call it out. I say, hey, I slipped. I did not get punched. I did not get knocked down. I slipped. And I also say, the shoes. This is a clear example of what really happened with this. And then this is another thing to point out, is that Joel, you know, might have roid rage. At the time that I accepted the fight, he was still about 5'2". Whenever we went into the cage to fight, I want to say he was about 5'7". Not sure how he grew 5 inches in a matter of about 3 weeks. Definitely some steroids in him, and he is about 6 foot now, I believe. So definitely something going on there. Could be HGH, could be TRT, could be on the VTOR type shit, like I said, TRT. But definitely not natural, definitely not natty. Giving me a lot of Liver King type signs. Obviously, that's why they call me Smitty the King. There can only be one true king. And obviously, Liver King not being natty is just proof of why there can only be one king. Joel kind of following in his steps. And this is obviously, I had landed some good shots on him at one point. The referee, I mean, just look on the look on his face, you can tell that he's not actually trying to count. Meanwhile, Joel, clearly in pain, trying to see what, you know, if I could land more shots in this fight, you could tell that they clearly bothered him, because he can't even keep his mouthpiece in at this point. So here's really the interesting part of it here. So obviously against Brian, which was my return fight, my victory, first round TKO. Brian's defense, you know, clearly, or my defense for Brian clearly is the, you know, the hard shell, the turtle style shell. Some people call it the peekaboo, even, if you will. Pretty much showed him the top of my head and both gloves. There was no way for him to hit my chin, no way for him to hit me in the nose, anything like that, and he completely just stalls out in this moment. And as you can see here, same thing against Joel, and none of these punches land because of this. He doesn't have any power behind them, and a lot of shots just missing. He couldn't find my body either. He really struggled in this moment. And obviously against Brian, that same technique with a dry floor. As you can see, there's some wet spots from where, you know, my socks might have been wet, but you can see the difference between what a wet floor looks like and a dry floor. And if you just look at the difference between these two videos, look at how red that floor looks here. And that's another good example to use. The floor looks beet red in this. This one, it looks kind of more like a shallow red. It might be the right word. I'm not Bob Ross. Van Dyke Brown. But you can see the difference where it goes from wet floor here, lose my cursor here, wet floor here to dry floor here. This fight, it's all that wet floor color. So that's another good example to use. But obviously in the Brian fight, this shell defense clearly went on to help me win the fight. Like I said, by first round knockout against Joel, clearly helped me, you know, compete in that fight. So let's just go back. There was one photo that I do believe I left out that I just wanted to mention, because it is an important photo to have here. Yes, this was the one that I accidentally left out. You can see where my feet are completely misplaced on a right hook that I had attempted to throw, and I wanted to point this one out because as my corner or as my team had mentioned, I was throwing this thing directly at Joel Stevens' cocksuck. He kept running his cocksuck, and in the moment I felt like Scarface. I really felt like we were gonna take this beef out of the streets and squash it for good, because I was going to unload him with a right hand right to the cocksuck, and he's going to be unconscious and it's going to be over with. So let's just go back to the point that I really wanted to make here, though. I've shown you all this evidence of people slipping, people falling. This is really the one that I think proves to everybody what the truth is, right? The world agrees. And as I said before this video started, I had two objectives. Getting this fight overturned to a no contest, to a draw, whatever. Getting this fight overturned with the Colton State Athletic Commission, and getting the rematch with Joel / getting the fight with Will. Those were my two objectives. Getting my next fight booked and getting this one overturned. And as you can see, the people clearly agree with me. There's never been a stronger movement in the history of Colton's Garage or in the history of the Colton State Athletic Commission. Never. And that is obviously proven by the comment section on said video of Wet Floorgate. We have Fallen Art here. We have, Mr. Liedels, shout out to you. Strauss, shout out to you. Jake, definitely someone, he said, get it trending, boys, and it did trend at one point. I believe it will trend again after this video. And let's just, let's just keep this in mind for whenever we really think about Colton's Garage as a whole. There will never be a bigger travesty, and I want to emphasize that word. I've said it a few times already in this video. There will never be a bigger travesty or a bigger fault to the community and to the fan base than Wet Floorgate, the negligence by everyone involved, the lack of self-awareness of what was actually happening on the night of the event. I was just there to fight. I had no control over what was actually happening there, and clearly that came back to backfire against me. I should have done more. I should have done more digging. I should have pushed harder to make sure that the conditions were what I thought they would be. That part is on me, and I do understand that part. But at the end of the day, you have expectations for what the commission is going to bring to you whenever you go to an event that is a sold-out, packed audience. To see you fight, you expect certain things, and those expectations were not met on that night. So basically, to wrap this all up, though, to give this one final thing, like I said, I wanted to make this just an unedited, straightforward video, not really, I didn't want it to look, I didn't want any of this to look, like it was somebody put it in my ear, like it was somebody else's words. I wanted it to be genuine, because it is genuine. This is how I genuinely feel. This is what I feel in my heart. This is, in my opinion, the undeniable truth. And yeah, I just wanted to air it out, show the evidence, make it very, very clear how I really feel about this. And if you made it through this far, through this video, I have a few words for you. First off, thank you for making it through. Second off, like, comment, and subscribe. Third off, #WetFloorgate. And let's just say this to the Colton State Athletic Commission: I am the biggest money draw you will ever have. I was the first fighter to hit most popular in views, and I am the only fighter, well, one of two fighters now, I believe, but at one point, up until this last event, which, let me just say this last event featured a fight between Joel and Schmarky Schmeyers. That fight has hit 500 views, but until that fight, which is only getting as many views as it is because it is people in Mark's camp watching over and over again how funny it is that they beat Joel. Until that moment, I was the only fighter in the history of Colton's Garage to have two videos reach over 500 views, and I will continue to reach as many views as imaginary, because I am the biggest draw in the history of Colton's Garage, and I am becoming one of the best fighters in the history of Colton's Garage day by day. I put the work in, I put the hours in, I put the time in to make a video for you all to prove that Wet Floor Gate was a sham. If I have the time to do this, you can't even imagine, and this is going straight to you, Joel, and especially to you, Will. You guys don't even imagine how much time I spend in the gym every day, working on myself and working on my craft, working on the first ever instructionals that I've been giving out to some of my fighters who are victorious now to become the first ever practitioners of the mixed martial art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. As for I am the first and only black belt in the mixed martial art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I put in work every single day, and the one underlying thing about Wet Floor Gate that you cannot deny, if you want to deny the wet floor, if you want to deny the referee's negligence, if you want to deny my corner man throwing in the towel, if you want to deny the slip, if you want to deny the fall, if you want to deny whether or not you actually hit me whenever you didn't, if you want to deny any of that, what you cannot deny, and I want you to look yourself in the mirror and just decide if you think you can deny this. I want you to look me in my eyes the next time I see you and decide if you think you can deny this. Is that I am a better athlete, a better martial artist, and a better man than the one you saw on June 18th, 2021. Smitty the King,